XCN Onyxcoin XRP Ripple and XLM Stellar partnering with Firelight. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, keeping technical analysis short and sweet. And it's okay if you don't like, subscribe, or donate. Just know I didn't have enough money in the account to donate for a dog that simply needed a tiny surgery to live 2 more years. And he was put down because the owners did not want to pay. His name was Taquito. This is Bitcoin's chart clearly, and with the Firelight, XRP, XLM, and XCN, as far as we know, it's just XRP that's being allowed to be staked with Firelight. I personally would not recommend putting anything in a staking platform right before this last leg up. I would wait to cash out and then buy at a cheaper price and then look into staking, because this is something from like back in the day. I pulled it up just on Google, but it's you deposit your XRP, and the XRP is wrapped as FXRP, which allows it to go onto Flare's network, and then that FXRP is put into a liquid token vault, which is known as STXRP. It's still XRP, but it's got 2 different things to allow it to work on the platform. And then that's kind of what XCN is going to be doing with XRP and XLM, but they're trying to make it a lot smoother. So that's kind of how XCN plays into this whole thing. And Firelight, I can't do it or show you, but they filled up $25 million within 12 hours for the staking, and they are not allowing staking at the moment or giving out rewards. This is a reason I don't stake at the moment, because you want to make sure everything's set in stone. But if you do stake with them early, they give you more points, which can essentially give you more XRP in the long run. The main concern I have is if it's a 365-day staking period, you could be missing the pumps and retracements while your money is staked, and you could be earning a lot more dealing with trades instead of having it staked up. So when XRP takes off, you can start selling out and then buying at a little cheaper price, and then start staking it. If it's in the red or anything like that, that's where Firelight comes into play. And XRP I constantly recommend, but it's not financial advice in any way, is to dollar cost average. So if it goes up, you buy some. If it goes down, you buy some. This liquidity sweep with this one major wick off here at the beginning of October with the market manipulation, that is a great entry point, and we are currently roughly around that entry point, and we are not closing lower than that entry point here around $1.77. So since we built a higher low, essentially we want to see another higher low and start pushing it up towards this black trend line and the 2.33. If it can get over 2.33, it'd be testing the 200 EMA and most likely get a little rejection, fill out the right shoulder, and then have its take off by the end of December, beginning of January, hopefully. But that's kind of what we are expecting for XRP. If you haven't been stacking a bag, definitely do it. It's only $2.14 and it has a potential to be over $100,000 to $10,000 in the next 10 years. So $2 turning into 10 grand, I'd be throwing everything at it. But XLM, if you were looking at XCN, XLM is now building higher lows. So we had this low, built a higher low, and similar to XRP, it could still be pulling back. But as long as we are holding a higher low, we can see it potentially test this middle line. If it can break that, then the CM Guppy is the next real resistance. Most likely pop up over it, get a little rejection, consolidate to have some energy to break over the 200 EMA and the downward trend line at the same time. Then once that happens, 0.32, maybe rejection, test the downward trend line like we are seeing with QNT, which will be on another video, and then we'll take off to 0.46, 0.47 cents for XLM. But this is a very big player. If you're in XRP, definitely have some XLM and XCN. And now what everybody waits for is XCN. I don't think it's done anything, honestly. Still working within the red trend lines like we have talked about. And yep, it's trying to build a base essentially. It's not trying to close too dramatically over the previous low. So for bears, that's not looking too bearish. It's trying to build some support since Bitcoin is pulling back a bit. When Bitcoin starts to pull up, you're going to see this thing get drug up very quickly. You could see 125% in a day, and you missed out because you may have sold or did not enter in at this low point. Keeping in mind it can still go down to 0.003. That's an opportunity for a liquidity sweep depending on what Bitcoin does. So with XCN at this point, if we drag this down here, it's pretty laggy. Let's see if my prediction of 125 is accurate. I don't even know what's going on at this moment. The iPad's so laggy. Well, more or less, let's see. That's 88. 125 is this red line, more or less. Maybe a little bit more from this entry point. So 124% is the possibility up. The downside is another 50% in loss. But if you do not sell and it pulls right back in, it is more than likely going to be testing this 200 EMA at around 70% increase in profit or more. And then if it can get over that, it's got to break this red downward trend line at the additional 30% of increased price. So if you're not entering in at this point, when you're planning to enter in at this point, you have a bigger possibility of having all this range to pull back still. It's not over. We've seen long drawn out periods for XCN like this back in history, back in July. Long drawn out underneath the 200 EMA, kept moving downwards until it got over the CM guppy. At this point, held over the 200 EMA, and you could consider this a downward wedge if we are looking at it. Oh, I can't click anything like this. I said like this. Boom, downward, or I guess this is more of an upward wedge since the bottom is curving upwards, but we are getting support testing the 200 EMA, and then once this was validated as support, when we crossed over the CM guppy, those red lines in there, then we tested the 200 EMA, got rejected, tested it again, almost got pulled back into the CM guppy, but then the water was too strong and pushed this thing way up here to 0.003, and then it had another downward trend line, which was broken. This is over the course of like all of December. And then once Christmas hit, a few days later into January, the first 2 weeks, it had that major 2,000% pump. So this long played out period is necessary if you want to see 10 to 18 cents or higher for XCN. It's going to be playing the similar part like I just told you about with Firelight and staking and needing to wrap things, and it's a whole layer process. Been in this for about 11 years, and it was very difficult at the beginning, and a lot of burning fees and gas fees in Ethereum. Pretty ridiculous. $100 gas fees to do one transaction. At some points, it's insane, but that's where XCN comes in and will kind of help reduce the cost. The one thing you want to keep in mind is we are building higher lows in the RSI. So with the higher lows, we may get a little bit of a pullback with the yellow line above the purple, but form a W here with the purple, and then eventually pull up towards the 50 and hopefully get overbought, which would be right around the 200 EMA and downward red trend line. So that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't, donate if you want, save animals' lives, buy merch if you want, and good luck. Have fun with it. I will see you on the next one.